This is Literally Rich with CNH. That's Chase and Hakeem. Oh, look at that. How wonderfully it pops up here on the screen. I think I'm going to have to invite my partner here, who you guys are going to get to know pretty soon here. We have an interesting history together, and we've known each other for years. And this is one of those things that really pleases me to do. I've actually asked him to join me quite some time ago. I mean, if I look back at the history uh, of when I first invited him here, it was back in, hey, Sudoku, welcome. It's good to see you. When I first invited him here, to back when they first rolled out that thing that they had called, where they had a package message from to be an ambassador, where it says, "You're one of the wisest people I know. Please check this app out." So I sent that to him on December 4th of 2022. And hey, Andrew Johnson, Ruma T. Yeah, so I sent it to my friend September 4th, 2000 or December 4th of 2022. And we had known each other living in China. And I invited him even before to call in on October 30th of 2022. Um, and so, and we, kept in touch. But as you know, with friends, when you're real friends, you don't have to be on top of each other all the time. And so, of course, we can just reconnect whenever and not have an issue. Today, we're actually going to present you guys Literally Rich, and you'll see the name is quite a very superficial and also um, a deeper meaning as well. And both of us are going to be looking at a book that many people may or may not know. And it was actually uh, published back in, I'd say, uh, 1910. I've been I've been reading a lot of classic, if you will, book lately, and I really do mean that in every sense of the word, and not just the fact that it's old, right? Um, it's funny, the book was copywritten April 1st, 1910, so April Fool's Day. Sometimes I wonder about that stuff. Um, and oh, here comes the man right now. I didn't mention his name yet. I was building up here so far, but we've got welcome, sir.
Hey, Hakeem. Yes, sir.
How do you do?
I a little bit of the preamble to the books and the intro. Good to be here.
Yeah, man. Folks, you have no idea how excited I am about um, being here with Chase. Chase, how long ago, do you remember when did we meet? What year was that?
It must have been 2017 or
Yeah.
16. We were in China and playing capoeira, and then for a couple of years in a row, we spent hours a day after thrice a week, hours a day at a little family mart, just talking
Oh,
life,
man.
talking
Yeah.
knowledge. It was beautiful.
Family Mart in China. I totally forgot about that.
right?
I love that little neighborhood over there in China.
Oh, it's so beautiful. It's so good. For those of you who haven't been in China, um, we hear a lot about cameras and Big Brother and whatnot, but literally 2 o'clock in the morning, you could be feeling completely yourself to just walk down the street, pop into a place and grab a yogurt or something and
Yeah,
just stand outside sipping it. Call up somebody else that's an insomniac at 2 o'clock in the morning, and
yeah,
nothing strange about
yeah. It was a beautiful experience, man.
it. Hmm.
Yeah, we would just sit for hours just chopping it up, talking about whatever.
Yeah.
Family Mart after Capoeira class. And what
Yes,
a
sir.
crazy thing for me to find Capoeira. Like, I used to ride my bike there. It was like 7.7 kilometers or something like that. So it took 30 minutes um, on my bicycle
Hmm.
to get there.
Yeah, how'd you
And
find it? What was the first tip off? Did you look for it, or did you happen to
yeah,
see
I,
somebody in some abadas and holding a bid bow, or what?
I was looking, I was actively looking for Capoeira. And, um, but I had known about the group for a year before I even went to go visit you guys. I
Uh-huh.
had known about it for a whole year. I had already been in China for like a year before I even found it, and then I finally went there because I thought it was far away. But it's so funny because it was down the street from Kathy's school.
Hmm.
You know, it wasn't far from. Remember who ran that school? What was it called? Something like
The crystal clear English.
oh,
There was
Crystal Clear
there's
English. Yeah,
it had a
yeah,
Chinese name, but it
yeah.
more or less it was like foreign royal teachers English teaching school of teaching English. But this lady who runs the school has um, three different, and she's so wholesome, and I originally started, and I think you worked there too, wasn't it? The TEFL Academy. Did you
Yeah,
didn't you have
yeah,
work there?
I yeah, and then
And my experience,
uh, okay,
yeah, I
brother.
was just going to say real quick, my experience there. That was, I got a contract with them and came to China to teach English. And 5 weeks later, I just felt completely exhausted, burnout. The way that they run their schools, at least that one, and the branch owners were, it just felt it felt very much like a factory. It wasn't very quality. I was showing up to work in the three-piece suit, like being the professor. Like my journey was to master English, teach, travel the world, and have something to rely upon that was needed everywhere that I wanted to be. Anyway, I felt exhausted, and then I had a buddy recommend Kathy to me from Capoeira, and I went to meet with her and got the job. And then a little while later, through Capoeira was introduced to all these great people, and Hakeem, you being one of them. Um, when it was time for me to move back to the States, I remember we had a meeting with you, Kathy, and I, and we transferred the head teacher and the teacher trainer role to you. And man, what a great experience! I'll
It
tell you
was
what, I spent
awesome.
2 years over there and had a lifetime worth of memories. I'm super for that capoeira group. Um, I look
Yep.
for. I told myself when I was at that TEFL Academy, I need something else. Before I got to Crystal Clear English, I said I need something, something for roots. And so I looked up Capoeira China, and boom, based on my location, Hangzhou, China, there's a Capoeira
Yeah, man.
Manjinga, Hangzhou. Um, Mr. Marcelo had planted a school there in Taiwan. I think there's one up in Beijing, maybe. But
The cool
anyway,
thing
I looked for it and found it.
about Marcelo is he was the guy who did the mocap for the Tekken video games.
Eddie
Did you
Gordo.
know that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Eddie Gordo.
remember playing Tekken 3 on PlayStation, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny story about that. It's like that was one of my favorite characters, and then we hosted a French guy uh, and his wife at our house. And my mom wouldn't let me play that Tekken game because it had violence in it. There were little puffs. I mean, the graphics weren't even that good. It looked like a little exploding starburst of red, uh,
Yeah.
like a misting of red rather than actually like the gore you see these days. and she
Like
wouldn't
on
let me play it. But then we hosted this guy, and he did two things for me. I really appreciate it. He gave me this book called Musashi, which was way too dense for me back then, but since then I
Miyamoto
picked it up.
Musashi.
And then he also he played, yeah, he played Tekken with me, and he showed my mom that there was a setting where I think you could turn off the blood, and then she was cool with it. But I always used Eddie Gordo because I could always mash the buttons and it would look like some cool breakdancing fighting. And then he would always use Lin or Lee, which was the guy who knew all the forms of Asian martial arts. And and he would be in like panther mode and tiger pose and cobra and fight in those styles. Um, Man, those long-winded tangents just to say that Capoeira, Mocap, Eddie Gordon,
Oh yeah.
Mestre Marcelo, the one that
Yeah,
started
bro.
the school for the training that we did in China, was yeah. If you guys are ever into Tekken or that series of fighting games, there was a real
You
guy
know,
behind the motion capture.
Chase, I never, as long as I'd been practicing capoeira since 1993, and I never accepted a cord or any type of ranking until we had that Batisado there. And it
Mm,
was only because they so graciously offered it to me, and I just felt so. The group was so humble, and they were
yeah,
like a little family. And
yeah.
so when they gave me like they bumped me up like a few, like they didn't give me like the beginning when they gave me a green cordal, and
Hmm.
I just said, you know what, I'll take it, and I still have it but it was only because of that group, because I
Beautiful.
felt very close to that family, and that I'd never accepted any belts or ranks or anything like that in martial arts before, because I always followed the wrestler, boxer, Muay Thai path, which is train, fight. That's it. Not train, get belts. Like I never, like Mr. Miyagi said, uh, uh, belts are for holding up pants.
Aren't they though? Yep. Beautiful. I
So
just found a picture of you, T, Marcelo, and myself at that Bachizado.
yeah,
Um,
man.
I'll send that to you. That's
Yeah, T
cool.
is
And then
awesome, man.
yeah, go ahead.
You know, you got to go visit her in Jamaica.
Yeah, I did. When I was living in DC, I flew down to Jamaica for about a week, and we took a road trip around. Her parents let us borrow the car, and it was it culminated in a reggae festival, and then back off to the coast.
That was awesome. Yeah, T is another friend of ours that we used to hang out with and spend many hours talking to as well. She's actually uh, China, ethnically Chinese, but she was born in Jamaica, and we met her
Hmm.
also in China, um, and spent a lot of time with her. Like, we didn't really spend that much time with very many other people, huh? We had like a small, tight-knit group.
It was small. It was good.
Yeah,
Um,
I really, I really liked that a lot. It was nice because I was like that anyway. I mean, I really didn't, you know, get along that well with too many people. Not that I was averse to it, but I'm still just the same way I am now, sort of a loner, you know.
mhm.
Um, but hey, man, it is what it is, and it was awesome. Hey, so
It was good.
what?
Yeah.
Why are we calling this literally rich? What the hell are we
So
doing?
I like the pun. There's a lot of knowledge out there, literally. It's so
Yeah.
funny. Um, that comes out of just compilations or people's writings. They say they say a short pencil is better than a long memory. And so for someone
Mm,
to yeah to create something like a compilation or whatnot of what they know about wealth is a special thing. And so just a little bit ago, you and I decided to dive into some of these books, and starting with the science of getting rich today, and just take little bite-sized chunks of it and comment and read along, and have people join in and tell us their thoughts on it, and just make our way through the book, and then on to the next one. It's one thing to
yeah.
read alone. It's another thing to listen to a book, and we have this special opportunity and wisdom to share that wisdom and have other people join in and collaborate. I think that's really cool.
And yeah, don't mind folks if every we collapse into some reminiscing about our time in China. Um, Also,
Yep, yep.
we do you mind sharing where you're located? You don't have to be very extremely
Yeah,
specific.
I'm in LA. Yeah, I live and work in Marina Del Rey, and today I'm in Orange County, and
Yeah,
loving it out
so
here.
that's another thing we have in common. I also lived out in LA. Been to Orange County many times. Been to Marina Del Rey, of course, many times to some of the different restaurants, and even went sailing out there. And but I lived mostly in
Mm.
Hollywood Hills, and then in Encino and stuff like that. Um, but always being a beach bum, so we have a lot more in common. Places we've been, and all that good stuff. Hey, this book here is The Science of Getting Rich. It was published in 1910. Some of you may have heard of it, um, but let me go. Do you mind? I'm going to go through the contents real quick, Chase, so that people can hear what
But
we
I'll pull it
read.
up and I'll be ready
Yeah.
to
All
jump
right.
in
So
when need be.
their
Yeah.
contents are awesome. The contents of this book, they're very short chapters. So, like for example, one is called "The Right to Be Rich." It starts on page 9, and then the second chapter is only 6 pages away on page 15, which is there is a science of getting rich. Then you have 3 is opportunity monopolized on 23, which is only 8 pages away. And these are small, short pages, by the way. Um, on The first principle in the science of getting rich is on 31. Hey, that's kind of interesting. What is that? Oh, yeah. The first principle in the science of getting rich is on page 31. 5 is increasing life on 42. 6, How Riches Come to You, 53. 7, Gratitude on 63. 8, Thinking in a Certain Way, 71. 9 is How to Use the Will, is on page 80. 10, Further Use of the Will on 89. 11, Acting in a Certain Way is 99. 12, Efficient Action, 110. 13, Getting into the Right Business, 119. 14, Question of Increase on 127. 15, The Advancing Man. Oh, that's one of my favorite chapters, 135. 16, Some Cautions and Concluding Observations on 143. And finally, on 17 is The Summary of the Science of Getting Rich on page 152. Chase, have you read this book before?
I have not.
Yeah. So,
Looking at these look looking at these contents though, I'm seeing a lot of similar topics, or at least uh, outlines of other wealth building categories. For example, what strikes me is Napoleon's Hill's Thinking and Getting Rich. He does
oh,
a
Think
lot
and
of
Grow Rich. Yeah.
mention Think and Grow Rich. Yeah, he does a lot of he mentions a lot of things between the physical and the spiritual. And not to get too woo
Right.
woo, but certainly there needs to be purpose in the matter, and the purpose must matter. So those nuances between going out and serving people and getting something in return, that giving and getting, and what are you getting out of it, that type of thing. Like big thing, serving out of a perspective of giving rather than, oh, okay, I can't wait to get my paycheck, I can't wait to buy
Yeah.
this thing, or I can't wait to affluence or this status. So I'm seeing a lot of similarities, and I'm sure as we go through
I
any of
think
these books, we'll keep going to that.
surprise you though the direction that this book takes. And I just want to say hello to everybody who stopped by and is either sitting for a spell to listen with us or is just passing through. So we got Sudoku first. Hello, how you doing, my friend? Andrew Johnson, Ruma T, Bling Vieira, Brittany, dude. Brittany's so awesome. I've been learning a lot of stuff from her, by the way. She um, yeah, has a creator life. She's a founder of Creator Life, fashion designer. I'm on her page. She's inspired me to do some really cool things by getting out of by doing more video content. Anyway, she's pretty badass.
Hmm.
We'll probably talk to her eventually soon. Diane Galante, Marcianne, Finesse by Nature. Again, hello everybody. Thanks for either passing through or stopping by for a spell. Um, and let's take a look. So Um, the preface of this book I'd like to get into. Do you want to read it or have me start that off, Chase?
I'll read it. I'm
All right.
dying to read something.
All right.
All right,
Awesome.
so the
Good.
preface, and this starts on page 5 of the book. And by the way, we'll go by the page numbers in the book rather than any kind of PDF form because those will vary, but the book in print will keep the same. So, preface. This book is pragmatical, not philosophical, a practical manual, not a treatise upon theories. It is intended for the men and women whose most pressing need is for money, who wish to get rich fast and philosophize afterwards. It is for those who have, so far, found neither the time, the means, nor the opportunity to go deeply into the study of metaphysics, but who want results and who are willing to take the conclusions of science as a basis for action without going into all the processes which these conclusions were reached, by which they were reached. It is expected that the reader will take the fundamental statements upon faith, just as he would take statements concerning a law of electrical action if they were promulgated by a Marconi or an Edison, and taking the statements upon faith that he will prove their truth by acting upon them without fiction. Every man or woman who does this will certainly get rich, for the science herein applied is an exact science, and failure is impossible. For the benefit, however, of those who wish to investigate philosophical theories and so secure a logical basis for faith, I will here cite certain authorities. The monistic theory of the universe, the theory that one is all and that all is one, that one substance manifests itself as the seeming many elements of the material world, is of Hindu origin and has been gradually winning its way into the thought of the Western world for 200 years. It is the foundation of all the Oriental philosophies and those of Descartes, Spinoza, Leibniz, Schopenhauer, Hegel, and Emerson. The reader who would dig to the philosophical foundations is advised to read Hegel and Emerson, and he will do well to read The Eternal News, a very excellent pamphlet published by J. J. Brown, 300 Cathcart Road, Govan Hill, Glasgow, Scotland. He may also find some help in a series of articles written by the author, which were published in Nautilus, Holyoke, Massachusetts, during the spring and summer of 1909, under the title, What is Truth? In writing this book, I have sacrificed all other considerations to plainness and simplicity of style so that all might understand. The plan of action laid down herein was deducted from the conclusions of philosophy. It has been thoroughly tested and bears the supreme test of practical experiment. It works. If you wish to know how the conclusions were arrived at, reading the writings of the authors mentioned above, and if you wish to reap the fruits of their philosophies in actual practice, read this book and do exactly as it tells you to do. Signed, the author.
Man, that's a pretty bold claim, right? So what do you think
Mm,
about that, Chase, upon
mm.
your first reading of this, right?
Well, I just off the surface of it, I tend to agree. There's logic to getting something, and so following the steps is just a matter of willpower and effort, and tying it into when he's like, hey, you can philosophize all you want about it, but there are steps to take. I 100% agree. What comes to mind for you?
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought when I first read that opening to this book back in, I read it in 2006 or 2007 was the first time I got hands on it.
Mm,
Um, and that's exactly what I thought. I thought to myself, wow, he makes a good point
yeah,
into it
absolutely.
and start doing the thing rather than, um, rather than just philosophizing too much. Because that tends to be what a lot of people do. There's a lot of vague psychological concepts and very little action sometimes. So,
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a lot of that analysis by paralysis where people think something's a good idea, they're ready to commit to it, but then if they can't take action at the moment, then they just overthink it and give them enough reasons to not do it to where it just seems lackluster by the time they find other ways to reinforce that commitment to it. I'll give you a prime example. I know that in my heart of hearts, I want to wake up at 5 a.m. I want to have a few hours before my workday starts, before the world gets to waking up and making noise and distractions and whatnot. But it's not 5 a.m. tomorrow yet. And so all day I can think about doing it rather than just committing to it and focusing on something else or the next step. towards that. That's not really a process or a project. It's more of an action step towards something. So just planning on doing it is one thing, and then focusing elsewhere. But the more you think about it, oh man, I want to be rich. Oh, I want to have this thing. I want to place. I want to experience this experience. You know, you could think about it all day, but unless you're doing something about it, thinking is not doing. You're doing a lot of thinking, but you're thinking about doing. And I think there's a clear difference there. Even if it's small steps. You know, I'm gonna set my alarm. Boom, action step toward waking up 5 a.m. Done.
Well,
You don't have
well,
to
you know,
have the master plan in place before you execute.
when we were going, that's the same thing like going to Capoeira class when we were in China. You know, just
Mm.
I want to go to class. Well, that's great. What about just going to class, right? And practicing, right? We
Yeah,
just did it. We just showed up every day and we went there
yeah.
to that dance studio. What was that like on the 22nd floor or something like that? That building we
Man,
had to
it
get
was
on that
up there.
elevator.
Yeah, there were three floors above it. I've got a picture from the rooftop where
Nice.
you can see the whole city around there. But yeah, it
Oh
was
my
two
gosh.
floors away from not.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Um,
There's another.
yeah, that's
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
no, that's a great example though of what you're saying about just having that idea to do something and instead of waiting around and planning all that stuff like that, just get it done. You know, you can hype yourself up as much as you want. There's nothing like doing it.
Yeah, you can jump in and out of a mindset as fast as you can come up with a new mindset. And so just have you heard of someone named Dr. DeMartini? It's John
Yeah, John
DeMartini.
DeMartini.
Okay.
Interesting
He
connection.
uh-huh.
Supposedly, this book was one of the inspirations for the movie The Secret in the book, and he was one of the talking heads in The Secret, DeMartini.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and the way I heard about that movie was through another medium. Her name's Esther Hicks, Abraham Hicks. She's all about the law of
Oh
action.
yeah.
And one thing DeMartini mentions in his Wealth Mastery library that I've got on Audible, it's like a 16-hour listen. I'm loving it. I'm on the third rendition of it. I think one of his books, The Values Factor, is the root of all this. So I think that should be on our list of books in the future. But he mentioned something the other day that kind of um, if you don't have enough reasons to do something, you're not going to do it. If it's not of enough value to you in the moment or going forward, and you're not going to do it. If there's something more pressing, you're going to do that instead, and not even pressing, just important or more valuable to you. He makes a lot of good points about value, and our value system is what dictates our priorities.
Oh hell
And
yeah.
like going to Capoeira, waking up at 5 a.m., building your dream business, uh, getting that thing to that place, feeling that unless you're moved to do it, whether it's intrinsically, extrinsically, you're not going to do it.
You know what? That's so crazy. Like, did you feel like though with the purpose that you had, like um, when we were practicing capoeira, um, did you feel like it took effort to do that, or
Not
was
at
it just
all.
something?
Not at
Right.
all. It was such a beautiful thing. I think getting there and the logistics of actually showing up to the studio and, bringing a change of clothes and being able to, bide your time elsewise was more of a
Yeah.
hassle than sitting there sweating for 2 hours, singing
Yeah.
and dancing and fighting and playing.
Yeah,
You're in that
man.
flow
I mean,
state when you're having that ball.
but that's what drove me to get there to those class. Like, I didn't even care that I had to ride my bike 30 minutes from home to get there. It was just like, I need to get the capoeira class. I need to go
Hmm.
hang out with Chase and T in capoeira. We're gonna park our our bikes there at
Little
the bottom of that
e-bikes, yes,
building,
sir.
and then make that our way up to the to that 22nd floor, whatever it was, and
Yeah,
then
and for the
sweat out
longest
for
time,
yeah.
man, I was taking the subway. So from originally from where I lived, it took me three subway two transfers on three different subways to get there. And you want to talk about an effort to get. there. That was it. I was feeling it. But I knew that the reward of it, of being there in such a in such an environment, was beautiful. So that just goes to say, man, just like what's the author of this book, by the way?
Wallace
Wadler?
D. Waddles. Wallace D.
Wad.
Waddles. Yeah.
What a name. You think that's a pen name, or that
Waddles.
it's the real deal?
No, that's his real name,
I'm
as far
Mr.
as I know.
Waddles. Yeah. I think he he hit the nail on the head that like it takes there's two aspects to it, but the science is impossible to disprove. So I'm with that program. Knowing what you
Nice.
get out of it, having already experienced it, for us the capoeira, for us the travel, the linguistics, the networking opportunities, the just plugging into the world the way we want. We know what that's like. We've experienced that tens, hundreds of times, and to be able to be on the same page about it, um, we already know what we're getting out. So that motivation's there.
Chase.
It's exciting to get there.
Chase. 你叫什么中文名字?
I didn't have one.
Do you have one? Okay.
No, no. Uh, Hakeem asked me if I had a what's my Chinese name. I think Popo Lan Lan
Oh,
was a
Popola.
was Popo. I would tell people would be my Chinese name, and in the States we got this style where people got like holes in their jeans and then their shirts little it's just having a kind of ragamuffin style, and it's popular here. You got some fresh white shoes and some jeans with some holes in it, a nice T-shirt and a hat. It's on. Nobody thinks twice about the holes in your jeans. When I was growing up, you had a hole in your outfit. Go get dressed. You're not going out in public like that. Nowadays, it's cool. In China, they call that lan lan. That style is called popo lan lan. And what it means is popo is pretty much like dilapidated or used up, and lan lan
Yeah.
is like ragged or throwaway. And so when I told people that was my name, they were like, "Huh, okay, yeah, uh,
Popola.
Miesha."
Yeah. Yes. Oh man. I'm gonna go ahead and look at the very first chapter real quick. It's only, I think, 6 pages or something like that.
Mhm.
Um, and it's called The Right to Be Rich. You ready for that?
Ready for it?
All right. All right, folks. So, dude, I'm so excited to be here with you, Chase. I've been waiting for a long time. Dude, I was saying before that I had been sending you links to this and Colin since last year in like October and December to come and join me here. But, Chase has been doing his own thing and much respect. But like, if you're friends with somebody, you don't need to be on top of them all the time. And so we just have a cool connection, and I really appreciate that.
I
So,
do too, man. It's one of those that, and I'm sure we all have that friend who you don't need to talk to for years, but you catch up, and it's like right where you left off. There's no,
yeah,
hey man, how come we haven't been talking, or you didn't never responded to that link? I got you, man.
yeah.
I got you. I got the link. It's in here.
And
Let's
we're
let's
we're going to be doing our best to we've decided that every Monday, right around this time, we hang out on Wisdom.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
this is about 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m.
yeah,
East Coast time, and then
yeah, yeah.
everything else in between.
Sure. All right. So
All
this is
right,
The Right to Be
literally
Rich, Chapter
rich.
1. Literally rich. All right. The right to be rich. Whatever may be said in praise of poverty, the fact remains that it is not possible to live a really complete or successful life unless one is rich. No man can rise to the greatest possible height in talent or soul development unless he has plenty of money. For to unfold the soul and to develop talent, he must have many things to use, and he cannot have these things unless he has money to buy them with. Man develops in mind, soul, and body by making use of things, and society is so organized that man must have money in order to become the possessor of things. Therefore, the basis of all advancement for man must be the science of getting rich. The object of all life is development, and everything that lives has an inalienable right to all the development it is capable of attaining. Man's right to life means his right to have the free and unrestricted use of all the things which may be necessary to his fullest mental, spiritual, and physical unfoldment, or, in other words, his right to be rich. In this book, I shall not speak of riches in a figurative way. To be really rich does not mean to be satisfied or contented with a little. No man ought to be satisfied with a little if he is capable of using and enjoying more. The purpose of nature is the advancement and unfoldment of life, and every man should have all that can contribute to the power, elegance, beauty, and richness of life. Content with less is sinful. Ooh. The man who owns all he wants for the living of all the life he is capable of living is rich. And no man who has not plenty of money can have all he wants. Life has advanced so far and become so complex that even the most ordinary man or woman requires a in order to live in a manner that even approaches completeness. Every person naturally wants to become all that he is capable of becoming. His desire to realize innate possibilities is inherent in human nature. We cannot help wanting to be all that we can be. Success in life is becoming what you want to be. You can become what you want to be only by making use of things, and you can have the free use of things only as you become rich enough to buy them. To understand the science of getting rich is therefore the most essential of knowledge. There is nothing wrong in wanting to get rich. The desire for riches is really the desire for a richer, fuller, and more abundant life, and that desire is praiseworthy. The man who does not desire to live more abundantly is abnormal, and so the man who does not desire to have money enough to buy all he wants is abnormal. There are three motives for which we live. We live for the body, we live for the mind, and we live for the soul. No one of these is better or holier than the other. All are alike desirable, and no one of the three, body, mind, or soul, can live fully if either of the others is cut short of full life and expression. It is not right or noble to live only for the soul and deny mind or body, and it is wrong to live for the intellect and deny body and soul. We are all acquainted with the loathsome consequences of living for the body and denying both mind and soul, and we see that real life means the complete expression of all that man can give forth through body, mind, and soul. Whatever he may say, no man can be really happy or satisfied unless his body is living fully in every function and unless the same is true of his mind and soul. Wherever there is unexpressed possibility or function not performed, there is unsatisfied desire. Desire is possibility seeking expression or function seeking performance. Man cannot live fully in body without good food, comfortable clothing, and warm shelter, and from excessive toil. Rest and recreation are also necessary to his physical life. He cannot live fully in mind without books and time to study them, without opportunity for travel and observation, or without intellectual companionship. To live fully in mind, he must have intellectual creations, surround himself with all the objects of art and beauty he is capable of using and appreciating. To live fully in soul, man must have love, and love is denied expression by poverty. Man's highest happiness is found in the bestowal of benefits on those he loves. Love finds its most natural and spontaneous expression in living. The man who has nothing to give cannot fill his place as a husband or father, as a citizen, or as a man. It is in the use of material things that man finds full life for his body, develops his mind, holds his soul. It is therefore of supreme importance to him that he should be. It is perfectly right that you should desire to be rich. If you are a normal man or woman, you cannot help doing so. It is perfectly right that you should give your best attention to the science of getting rich, for it is the noblest and most necessary of all studies. If you neglect this study, you are derelict in your duty to yourself, to God, and to humanity, for you can render God and humanity no greater service than to make the most of yourself. Boom. Wow.
Wow. So chapter one was pretty epic. I think it really speaks to deserving. You look at that word of deserve, it's out of service. When you're able to help others do what you love to do, that's when you're going to love doing what you're helping others do.
Yeah, that's pretty heavy. So anything that stuck out to you in there? Because I felt it like a little bit like he was pushing hard. He was like, "You're not normal if you don't want to get rich and make the most of yourself and your life."
I agree. I agree. And riches come in all shapes, forms, and experiences. You may be physically rich, you may be mentally rich, you may be spiritually rich, but the balance is key. I think what he meant by, hey, there's three motives, and we all know the lacking of physical without the spiritual, or the monetary without the well, monetary, depending on how you want to monetize. One without the
Yeah,
other is there's a lack of balance. That
yeah,
stood out
mind,
first
body,
and
mind,
foremost.
soul. He's like, if one of those three are out of balance, because that's what I like about it. Because he did say you're abnormal if you don't want to be rich, but he said that the riches are of body, mind, and soul. And what I
Hmm.
loved about what he said, what really stuck out to me was when he says you need to have books and the time to read them. You need to have leisure to be able to travel. Both of those things, which we've been able to do, right? Which is
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Living that. I mean, that's what we met in China, traveling like far away from home. Um,
yeah. And a big topic of a lot of our conversation was philosophy
yeah.
and experience. I remember once remember that attic bookstore somewhere on the north side of town where it was like somebody's attic, and it was a cafe that was all built up, and
Oh
you had
yeah, bro.
mentioned, yeah, and then
Yeah,
you
that was an
mentioned it
awesome
there the
place. Yeah.
first time, and then later on in conversation, you said to me, what I like about our conversation is that we tend to speak about concepts more than experiences, more than people. You
Yes.
laid out a hierarchy of more or less like what it is that expands a conversation into a like a meta communicative style.
Right. I think it was Margaret Thatcher who I had first learned that from, where she said that the lowest form of communication is when people talk about other people. The second
Mm,
level is
mm,
when people keep just talking about stuff that happened or events, and the highest form is talking about ideas and concepts. And because I realized that that's what our conversations always went to, is that
yeah.
we were always talking about concepts and advancing and being better and doing more, and also in all three of those functions because we met physically practicing a martial art, a game, and a dance, doing capoeira,
Hmm.
and then we had these conversations where and also we were practicing intellectual, like we were coming up with new ideas of how to teach and share with these children, teaching English and doing these other stuff and sharing with each other. But
Yeah,
capoeira
yeah.
in itself is mind, body, spirit. I mean, we're playing musical instruments, we're learning a different language, we're singing. Plus, we're already bilingual playing capoeira, both of us having done it before we went to China, right? And then we have
Hmm.
had to start learning the basics of speaking Mandarin or Putonghua. So
Yeah.
we automatically are on all these different concepts, and I thought that that was pretty amazing that to meet you there and to have so much kinship and so much in common like that was just amazing to me. Yeah, so
You know how
that
they say
that
that.
place was awesome, and that place had a
Yeah,
lot of
it
art
was
in it
such
too.
a
Sorry
hot
about, by the
pot.
way. Yeah,
Yeah, it was such a pot of so many things, and especially being such an international city where you get people from all over the world. It was extra peculiar that you and I, coming from like the big three over here, New York, Miami, LA, of and teaching English and playing capoeira martial art practice in China, and we'd already started to grasp Mandarin, and coming at from capoeira, having imbibed enough Portuguese to relate. There's sharing knowledge makes us all better in the domain of business. They say competition is good for the consumer because then you're not stuck with one product. Well, if we're all stuck with one idea and we never listen to those ideas of others, we're never able to draw from books or conversation, then we get stuck in that rut, and it may not serve us all the time. You're not going to wear a sombrero to a wedding, and you're not going to wear a swimming cap to the desert. You're not going to wear a helmet when you're sitting there writing a book. So, that code switching, that hat wearing, I think that's necessary. being able to, know that you can have wealth in your body as well as in your bank, as well as in your spiritual form. That's that's super. That's super. Those motives. And when he starts off the chapter with saying that it's sinful to not optimize yourself in these domains, I agree. In so many words, you don't have to be so harsh to call it sinful. However you want to take it, the fact that these things are out there for the getting, there's no excuse to not have them. You live life once. You at the end of it, whatever you didn't do, somebody else is doing. Not even about you and them, but it's about your own personal journey. If you're wanting to focus on your physical, that's what you value more than your bank account, then by all means, there's nothing wrong with getting up in the morning and doing everything you can throughout the day to maximize that physical potential. Go work out, go run, go breathe, go meditate, go do everything you need to make the maximum potential happen. Likewise, if your family is your number one value, by all means, go spend time with the kids, go visit relatives, go call your friends, go make sure that your network is strong, because that's what feeds you. That's what makes you rich. That there's so many ways to describe rich.
And
Own your
also,
nature.
I think it's interesting too that, there are some people who are so caught up in only their physical that when they start getting older and they're not able to maintain their looks and they only focus on that one thing, they start to like lose their shit, and that's why, again, his emphasis on body, mind, and spirit. Because if you just focus on one, it's so unbalanced that people, um, they get caught up in one, or people who focus only on their intellect, then they're still also focusing too much on just one thing. And if they aren't able to keep up with that, like it's having those three legs at a minimum of spiritual as well that will keep a person going because those things change over time. And
Absolutely. Look at a fire. Fire needs three things to be functional. It needs heat, fuel, and oxygen. With lack
yeah.
of oxygen, you got heat and fuel, but nothing to allow the combustion. If you got fuel and oxygen but no heat, well, there's no pressure to make the fuel work. If you have no fuel but you got heat and oxygen, you're not going to sustain it for very long. When I was in the Marine Corps, I coordinated artillery strikes. My job was to make sure that the artillery were functional and coordinated. So you had the eyes, the brains, and the muscle. Eyes see the target, they relay it to the brain. Brain plots the target, relays it to the guns. Guns pull string, go boom. Observer watches it, readjusts, and do it again. Shoot, move, communicate. So that trifecta, I think it's all over life. You can see it in cycles, and having balance is key. I can't stress enough. And I'm curious what Waddles is gonna say of the proportions of things. Hey, if you're too focused on here's an idea to value the monetary in a physical form. Let's say you all you do is work out and you're valuing the physical, and you're complaining about your bank account. Well, why not monetize that physical? Why not, start a podcast talking about health and wellness? Why not go, promote a product that you use all the time and get affiliate marketing going for it? If your value is fashion and you got the latest duds, well, I'm sure there's somebody that's looking up to you walking down the street. Man, where did they get that? Okay, put it somewhere. Somebody's going to want to put an ad on it. Somebody's going to want to do something. There's so many ways to reinforce your values. And I'm going to speak a lot about values because the most recent thing that I've read about wealth building was Dr. John DeMartini's Wealth Building Mastery Library and his Values Factor book. And I'm really diving into that. And to me, yeah, it's priorities, what we spend our money on and talk about and fill our lives with and really promote. That speaks. You know, that's how you vote. That's how you let people know what you stand behind. Inventory your life. That's where it's going to be.
I'd like to, this book, is there one particular, I think you mentioned it earlier, from John DeMartini that you wanted to eventually get to on Literally Rich coming up?
I think it would be since we're focusing on wealth building, I think his wealth building
He might have gotten a call right now, as you guys know in wisdom. Did somebody was calling in there,
I
Chase?
I think the values factor. We could look
Okay.
at the values factor because that's a book I have in print and online as well as Audible. So I think that's a good one. If you guys write that down,
The
the
value.
values factor. Yeah, super big. It really speaks to priorities and how we value the things that's important to us. And that's where we're going to get excited to do. Uh, John mentions a lot that there's the 12-year-old kid who's playing video games all day. You do not have to convince him. You don't have to logicize, philosophize any way for him to get down with some video games. But if you were asking him to do his homework, that'd be a different story because he places a higher value on those. And
Mm.
Waddles here in the Science of Getting Rich talks about the fact that you can't not maximize on this and have a like just say you led a good life. You see, borderline sinful. He says, I I'm of that nature. If you're given this body and you don't know how to use it, well, shame on you, or maybe not shame on you, more like don't complain about it. If you were given
Yeah,
the
exactly.
whole internet and all the books in the world to access and all the knowledge of ancients and ancestors and past generations, both the glorious parts and the downfalls, their mistakes, their profits. Oh man, if you're not leveraging that, then obviously something happened to you.
Yeah, I agree with that part too about that. It's kind of sinful. But have you have you ever come across anybody who's very uncomfortable talking about money or like wealth or riches that 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 is the sinful thing to do? You know, people who are like
I
that.
have a friend who really despises misers and money and wealthy people. He'll always comment about things like, "Oh, well, that's anytime there's an issue with a scandal in the news or something, he's like, well, that's what they get for being rich." He seems to have this thing against making money.
Mm,
And when I look at it, I'm thinking, okay, so you're just ignorant to it. You don't see the necessity for it. Like Waddle says in this chapter, well, we all know that without money, you're not going to be able to afford this thing. Unfortunately, we're far from a hunter gatherer society. We can't go around the neighborhood picking berries and hunting the local cats and stuff. We got to go buy food at the grocery store. That's how we've been set up.
mm.
Granted, in a certain level of mastery, you get to a point to where it's like, hey, I can pay people that love doing that to do that for me. I have a friend who has a homestead. I buy my honey. I have a friend who my mom has chickens on her ranch in Joshua Tree. I love warm eggs in the morning. That's a thing. So if you could source all these things from people who love doing it, you're not gonna have a problem with the money. The money's not the issue. The money's a medium. It's currency. It's a thing that circulates. Like plugging into the economy. If you're gonna demonize the successful business entrepreneur, you're not really seeing the big picture because it's impossible to only take. You have to give. You're
Yeah.
not going to make any money if you're just taking from people. You'll get shut down, you'll get canceled, you get thrown out. There's somebody else who's going to be more
You know,
capable.
I asked that question because there's a lot of people that I communicate with online who criticize me and get angry with me for being a capitalist, and they give me all kinds of shit about it.
Well, that's unfortunate because that's the system we're in. If
And
you
the
if you
thing is, Chase, if I may, they are infected by there's different forms of capitalism, and um, it's what most people are. Oh, is
Hey Hakeem, you kind of dropped off for a second. You said most
yeah,
people
I did.
are.
Yeah,
infected by a mindset of capitalism that
right, which is what you might call crony capitalism or even corporate capitalism, which I still don't think is a good name, but they get really distracted by the bad things that are done in the name of capitalism and not the good uses of it, and fail to realize for some reason that there are a lot of people who are capitalists working in a free market capital system that are actually doing good with something that, of course, is not a perfect system. But you can
mhm,
find ways to do it yourself in a way that makes the system better than what it is intended to be. I mean, free market capitalism was official when Adam Smith published The Wealth of Nations in 1776, which is one of the books that I'm reading for my series called Wealth Attraction Research here on Wisdom and on my other podcast, Spreaker. And it's not perfect, but it definitely is like one of the most useful things, and it's still it basically runs the world. I mean, it is the system that you'll find in everything in all economics and finance books. It's like everybody that I've read on money is in some way influenced by free market capitalism. Even communist countries, even the Communist Manifesto written by Karl Marx and Engels is influenced by the wealth. And so it's just it's very fascinating to me how um, that attitude about money and I know lots of people like that, like the person you described as well. So um, oh, so by the way, Chase, as you can look at your timer there, we have 7 minutes left for you there. So I don't think that we'll get to chapter 2 today, but your input has been invaluable. And also, as we talked about earlier, we might explore that other channel. But what anything more, any more commentary looking at chapter 1 um, that you want to comment on? Because you'll take the lead on chapter 2 the next time we do Literally Rich next week or whenever, if there's any time in between that we get to it.
yeah, I just want to comment on page 14, um, the top paragraph. He mentions, and I quote, "It is in the use of material things that man finds full life for his body, develops his mind, and unfolds his soul."
Mm.
Look, folks, the matter of it is that we live in a material world. We are physical beings. We can argue that we're spiritual beings in a physical body. I agree, but we're also physical beings living in a spiritual nature. There's that balance. We are the thing that requires sustenance, that cannot survive alone. So our bodies, they perish, our things, they dissipate too. But to build wealth in all domains, let's keep going back to wealth is a material, it's a physical, mindful, spiritual thing. Riches in all those domains, and to find happiness in those, you gotta build them. Just like you want to build your body, you gotta feed it right, sleep it right, enjoy yourself. Build your mind, you gotta fill it with the things that you want in it. Build your soul. Well, it's really just uncovering the soul, digging down in there. And so wealth building in essence, man, you got to manifest, you got to get down from the ground up. And that's, take care of yourself. If you don't sleep right, you're not gonna, in nothing you do is gonna feel as good as if you did sleep right. You didn't eat right. Let's say you slept right, you didn't eat right. Well, you're gonna be hangry all day. You're gonna be lacking perception. Things are gonna be fuzzy until you get right. Sleep right, eat right. You don't take care of your body. You don't brush your teeth. You don't go pick the boogers out of your eyes or comb your hair or iron your clothes or something. You're not going to feel as good as if you did. So it's those basis of things, and they all start with this physical. Sleep right, eat right, hygiene, present yourself well. There's a saying in Arabic that says only your eyes can see what's written on your forehead. Only your eyes can see what's written on your forehead. And that just
Mm.
means that however you react to the world, they're just reacting to you and you're reacting to them. So it's a big circle. So you check yourself,
Right.
get your sleep, get your food, wash your body, go dress yourself for the occasion. If you don't have the right hat on, that sun's going to beat you up. You take out a beanie in the summertime, you messed up. And
I'll
then
fry
getting
your
going
brain.
forward, yeah, you just build it up and then develop your mind. It's like, okay, what am I doing first thing in the morning? Am I watching all the news about hate and destruction and whatever and whatnot? Yeah, it's out there. But what are you going to do about it? You're going to be less of a good person to people. And then when you do connect outside of your mind, you then do it with gratitude. Do it with a love for people and the things that you cherish in yourself. Don't waste your time on things that don't matter. Build it up. Wealth building. It's not wealth having.
You you know one of the yeah because it's a never-ending journey, and there's always one point you get to, and then you take the next step, and you keep going up. Um,
Yeah.
One thing that I was looking at is when you were t looking at page 14. Um, well, it says man's highest happiness is found in the bestowal of benefits on those he loves. Love
Mm-hmm.
finds its most natural and spontaneous expression in giving.
Yeah.
I remember some years ago, I think we were actually in China in our apartment on the 14th floor in Hangzhou, and I asked Floor, I said to her, I said, "For all the things in my life that I have and that I've done and the places I've been and everything else," I said, "You know what the one thing is that makes me feel the most successful in life?" And she didn't even skip a heartbeat. She knew exactly where I was going with that without me even having to say. She goes, "Because we have each other." And I thought, I was like, yeah, that's it. That's one of the reasons why I feel more successful than anything else, because of you in my life. And I just want to say, Chase, equally to you, that I feel successful because I know you and you're my friend, and I'm glad that we're continuing to take this journey together, brother.
I'm grateful for our journey since day one till the last day. It's a beautiful thing, Hakeem.
So, yeah, man, it's good stuff. So this has been literally rich. I put with CNH obviously because it's Chase and Hakeem. Um, and we're going to be back again at the very least on next Monday, and around the same bat time, same bat channel. West Coast, I'm over here on the East Coast. But soon we're gonna reunite at some point in time because we've got lots of plans.
So I
And
just looked at the calendar. Monday's Labor Day. So if you
oh
all
yeah,
got nothing better to do, put us on the loudspeaker and have people start conversations. The more we talk about this, the more we can do about what we want to do.
right. Any
Enjoy yourself.
parting thoughts?
Mm.
Any more parting thoughts, good sir?
I'm enjoying this. I read a lot of books. I don't talk about the books. I talk about the concepts and things in them. So I'm really in the fact that we decided to do this, and this is the first of many. This is
Yes, sir.
The Science of Getting Rich by the J.J. Waddles or
Wallace D. Waddles. See, that's the great
Wallace
thing.
D. Waddles.
Chase has never read this book before. This is great.
Or heard a name
And
like that.
yeah, right,
Wallace D.
Wallace D.
Waddles.
Hey,
Yeah.
dude, he was born in the 1800s, man.
Well, with a name like that, it's well deserved. All right, Science of Getting Rich. We'll pick up chapter 2 next week.
Right, literally rich with Chase. Um, Much love to y'all in mind, body, and soul. Stay well.